So in this demo, we're covering a design request process. It's a very small process that we have built for the purpose of this demo. It's not your overall creative production process, but we just wanted to highlight Asana's capabilities and the different features that you can leverage for your entire workflow. So Asana has certain features that we use a lot. They are first the custom fields that we see them here. And again, I don't want you to worry right now how all of this is set up. Remember, we're going to host certain workshops to train you on all these features. So we create custom fields to then build the workflow. And with the workflow for Asana, they are called rules. So rules are automations. So we can create multiple automations to move a task from one section to another one, or move a task to one project to another project, to create subtasks within our task, or depending on the stage of the process that we're at, if we need an approval or anything else. So for this light demo we are doing, it's just based on design requests. So we have a very straightforward process where we have a backlog for all the requests that we receive, then all the entire work that is in progress, pending for approval, approved, and delivered. In Asana, you have the capability of seeing your tasks as a list view or as a board view. So I know that designers sometimes prefer a Kanban view, that is this one, and it's applicable. So you have list view, board view, timeline, which is also a really useful feature. And then we have calendar, and you can change from one to another one at any time. Okay. In terms of rules, we have some key basic rules. Depending on the status of the work that we're doing, then it's going to be moved from one section to another automatically. And we do that by the use of the custom field that we have created for this demo that is called progress of the work. So if we say that this is pending for approval, for example, that will move the task to pending for approval, and that will create a subtask for the specific person that needs to approve whatever we're delivering. So this is one of Asana's capabilities, some of the things that you can have automated. And it can be like, this is a very simple rule, but we can create different custom fields. So for example, in your case, you have multiple project managers. So we can create a custom field to identify those project managers, and depending to the project manager that is assigned to the project, then the approval goes to that specific project manager. Okay. Another of the capabilities of Asana is creating subtasks within the task. Let's say, and I have seen this in other clients, they don't want the same task to be reassigned to different people. So instead, they will create subtasks. So this is the design request that you received, and the approach that they would like to use is creating subtasks in rules. So in this case, and I'm doing it very quickly because, again, you're going to be having workshops to train you on all of this information, and I'm going to be implementing all of that inside Asana, but let's say that it needs to be approved. So we say here pending for approval, and instead of reassigning the task, we are going to add subtask. So please view and approve sign from the parent task. And in the workshops, I will explain why we highlight from the parent task, and then we will say that this is going to be assigned to Barbara, and we can even add a specific dates. So we can say you have 1 day to work on that. Okay. Or we can add a date range, okay, if we need to, between 1 day or the other one, or just a specific day. Okay, so let's say in this case we're going to say 1 day after, and then we're going to add also a due time, so that from my task it looks organized by day and time. So I will say you have 1 day until 2 o'clock. So this is also very important because if we have that set up, let's say today at 6 p.m., then that's going to be due tomorrow at 2 p.m. Okay, so let's pause this one to show you how that looks. So we have changed the rule and we have said that this is pending for approval, and that will move the task to pending for approval, and that will assign a subtask for me for tomorrow at 2 p.m. The reason why we add these notes all the time from the parent task is because from my task, and this is one of the best practices I will teach you on Asana once everything is implemented. From my task, this is what I'm going to see. So when we say from the parent task, I know that I have to click here, and here I will have entire visibility of the design, the documents that has been attached, the comments, etc. So my task is review and approve. So once I do it, I will check off my task and I will say here that is approved. Okay, so this is one of those capabilities of Asana that it can be created with rules. So we also talk on having template tasks in your projects, and they're also really useful, especially when there are specific tasks that you know that all the time they need to be created. So you can do it in two different ways. First one, you can have template tasks, and you can have many template tasks here in your project. So right now you can have up to 10 template tasks. So it's really useful. All you need to do is create a template task for the different variations that you need. So for example, right now you have multiple template tasks for if it requires a copywriting, or if it requires both copywriting and design, or only design, etc. So those are tasks that you can have here. And the same way works if we create a specific custom fields for the request, which is I think it would be a best approach, because we will create a form. And remember, I'm just talking on design request because I wanted to take a small process, but for your creative production, you're still going to be having a form for the creative request. And based on the different variables, those are going to be custom fields, we can set rules for that. So if they ask for copywriting and design, so we will have those as custom fields. And based on that, let's add a custom field here very quickly. We can call it requirements. And we will make it multi-select. So we have copywriting and design. And then based on that, we can create multiple rules, which is going to be probably a best approach because we can create up to 50 rules in projects. So I think it's more valuable for you than having only template tasks. So we can use a mix of the template tasks and the rules. So with the rules, we can personalize better based on the requirements where the task that needs to happen. So we can have one only if it's related to copywriting. Then these are the different sets of subtasks we need to work on. And then we will have another one if the requirement is related to design. So these are all the sets of subtasks we need to work on if it's only related to design. And if we have both, because we have created it to be a multi-select field, so we can choose both and then say here, these are the different sets of subtasks when we have both. So again, I just want to recap that this is just a small process for design request because I wanted to explain the different features of Asana. Another of the capabilities that you will have is timeline, which comes very useful for your projects. You can get to see by, let's say, by weeks, by month, by quarter, half year, or year. Right now, we don't have tasks assigned, but you get to see them all here in your, they actually need to have a due date. So let's add a due date to this task, or a date range, which is probably better. So we can say from the 26th to the 30th, and we can add a due time. So it's due on the 30th at 7 p.m. So the time will show up on the details of the task. In the timeline, we get to see the time range. So notice how it's here. Okay, so we don't have unscheduled task. Notice how we see here, but if we open it, we see all the details, when it's due and the due time of the task. Okay, so having a timeline is actually very useful. We can also create dependencies. So this is probably useful when we have different things and we cannot start one task without the other one, etc. So this is at a high level of what can be possible with Asana. In terms of forms, it's very straightforward. We can create a form with the different branches that we will need and the different questions. Basically replicate the form that you have in WordFrame. We can do so here in Asana for you to ensure that you receive all your requests here. And in another video, I was explaining that forms can be shared privately or public. And you can have even two different forms. So probably you want to have an internal form and then another different form when it's related to a client. So in your projects, you can also have multiple forms. And having the business plan with Asana, you can personalize your form. You can add a banner here, like a cover image, and also have it personalized with your logo. You have here an option to add a description, which is a very large box. You can add here an instruction on how to fill the form. You can change the name of the form, and then in the settings, you can allow people to add another submission. You can add here, similar to the description, you have a box for a confirmation message, which is also a very large box. You can add there instructions of what to expect once you fill out the form. How many days are going to be taken in average, or any other kind of information that you want for whoever fills out the form, know what's going to happen next. So this is in overall how we can create forms. Where I was referring to sharing it public or private is because you can have a private form only for your organization, meaning everyone that has your same domain in Asana, or anyone can have access to the form, meaning that you can even embed it in your website. So let's say here, when we say share form, instead of copying the link, we can copy the code and have it embedded on your website, which makes the communication and the receivement of the request from your clients easier. Okay, so we fill it out, we receive it every time that they submit a form. You will receive it as a form of a task here, and then from there we kick off the entire creative production workflow.